Today we talk about a gentleman that just got out of prison that took me on quite the stroll. This story involves an Adidas shirt, a stroll that I'll never forget, weeds over my head, iPhone flashlights, a river, and some very ticked off police officers. Enjoy. George here, Silverhammer Surveillance. Time for another crazy shoplifter story. It's part of our series, A Day in the Life of a Loss Prevention Professional. You can't make this stuff up. And yet another story where you gotta say, it's so crazy, you can't make this stuff up. So today's story, once again, I'm in Council Bluffs, Iowa, at the retailer I worked at. I'm watching the cameras, and this gentleman stuffs an Adidas shirt in his pants. Pretty straightforward. I've got him. No questions asked. It's all good to go. Now, before I tell the rest of the story, I got to tell you that the rules had just changed at this retailer where we couldn't grab anybody, we couldn't fight with anybody, we couldn't take them down anymore like we used to. We used to have a law called merchant's privilege, which was a law that basically meant we could do whatever we needed to do to safely get somebody inside to protect our merchandise. That law kind of covered us, and that's why back in the day things got crazy. Well, this is right when things started to go downhill for loss prevention, just because our hands started to be tied. Like I said before, I didn't like to fight, I didn't like to run, but I did like to know that I'd be able to take somebody down if I had to. So these rules had just changed. So I go to stop this guy, let him pass the last point of sale as we did, and ask him to come back inside with me. He pulls the shirt out of his pants, puts it over his shoulder, and starts to walk in with me, and I'm thinking, cool, we're good to go. But all of a sudden he gets this look on his face like, nah, not today. Turns around and starts walking away from me. Now normally that's when I would have just taken him down, put him in handcuffs, and brought him down, or brought him back in with me. But I couldn't because the rules had just changed, so I just didn't feel comfortable doing that. So I step in front of him. I was like, dude, if you don't come back with me, it's not going to go very well. I'm going to take you down, put you in handcuffs, and you're coming with me. I was trying to bluff him because that's what I would have done back in the day. I would have given him that warning before I did actually take him down. But I couldn't. So I was just trying to bluff him. I had that look on my face like I did where I stared through their souls. Sometimes, it was just little old me against 5 people or whatever it was. I had this look that I perfected where I just make them think I was going to take them all down no matter what. In this case, I tried to give this guy this look. He was not budging. He looked at me very nicely and he's like, dude, I just got out of prison and I'm not going back. So you're going to have to kill me. I was like, dude, just stop. Just stop. Come with me. So at that point, he just keeps walking and he drops something on the ground. I'm thinking maybe he stole something else before I started watching him. So I'm just trying to concentrate on him so I don't even look at it, but I just kind of kneel down and pick that item up and put it in my pocket. So I keep walking with him, like 2 friends strolling in the park, and I'm just getting very frustrated because normally I would have just grabbed this guy. And that's where it sucked when the loss prevention's hands were tied like this because it was actually a safety concern to not bring him back in. But anyway. We're still walking. And he keeps saying, I just got out of prison, dude. You're going to have to kill me. So next thing I know, we're all the way across the parking lot. And right across from that retailer, there's just this big field. I don't know. It goes several hundred yards. And then there's a river. And he's like, dude, I'm going to the river. I was like, what's going to happen once you get to the river? Just stop. But he kept walking. So I get on my phone right in front of him. I call the police department because I know he's a problem and I can't take him down, so I'm hoping they will come take him down for me. So I keep walking and I'm waiting for the police department. At this point, normally I would call a red service. A red service is where everybody in the store, 18 and willing, would come outside and help me out. But I can't, nobody saw me go out there. So I'm way out there at this point and no red service was called, so I'm on my own. So like a fool, I keep walking with this guy across the street. And, it is stupid of me to do this, but when you're in the heat of the moment, you just can't even explain it, but you just keep going. So he goes down into this field, and that's where things get a little tricky. This field is just pure weeds, and we're talking weeds over my head. So I go down there with him, and he and I are in these weeds over my head. I'm still hoping for a red service back at the store, and sometimes out the front door, if you really look, you can see this field. So I take my iPhone out, and I'm waving it overhead with my iPhone flashlight, because it's getting dark at this point. Dark enough where you'd see this light, but probably not from the several hundred yards away from the store. But I'm hoping. So I'm holding my iPhone over my head like I'm at a rock concert, hoping somebody will see this flashlight. And I'm still talking to this dude. We're having this nice talk. He's like, I just got a prison, dude. I'm not going back with you. You're going to have to kill me. So at this point, he can kind of see that the police are off in the distance, in the weeds. We can see that they're coming. But unfortunately, the poor police officers that responded also had to walk through the weeds to get to us. So it took a while. So they park their police cruiser and they start coming to help me. And he realizes they're close. And so after all this, he just lays down on the ground, lights up a cigarette, and says, I'm done. And I just look at him and I was like, dude, if you would have just done this a ways back, you would have saved us so much hassle. But he's just laying there. And once again, we're just like two friends just hanging out in these weeds, in the dark, and it's just crazy. He almost got to the river. He was about 10 yards from the river, and I still don't know what he was going to do when he got there. But anyway, the police get there, and they're just pissed because they had to walk through these weeds. So they weren't as nice to him as they normally would have been. But, you know, they treated him fairly. They just weren't as nice as they normally would be because they just had to walk through the weeds, and I don't blame them for being a little upset. I was a little upset myself. So we get him arrested. We bring him back. Life is good. But a little follow-up to the story, the item I put in my pocket. I go to dinner with the wife later on in the evening, and I feel something weird in my pocket, and I go to reach in to see what it is. And I pull it out, and it was a meth cutter that this guy had that he had dropped on the ground because he was scared that if he did get arrested, he'd also have some meth paraphernalia on him. So I'm just thinking, what if I would have got pulled over or something on the way to this restaurant? They would have thought I was cooking meth or I was cutting meth. I'm just thinking, ugh. And then, germaphobe me, I just realized that I'm touching this meth cutter. So I was freaking out at the restaurant. Immediately had to go wash my hands. Just quite the scene. Anyway, that's today's crazy tale. Hope you enjoyed it. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel. Hit the subscribe button in the bottom right of the screen. Hope to see you in the next one. Until then, peace and love.